When Ava Vanderstarren, a BC local, met Fazineh Keita, born and raised in Sierra Leone, their two worlds merged. Now both in Vancouver, they've created the Innocence Lost Foundation to raise both money and awareness in an effort to build a sense of community and safety in Fazineh's hometown and other similar areas of the world.
So we created a nonprofit foundation, and it's called Innocence Lost Foundation. And our goal is to help rehabilitate former child soldiers and help communities that have been affected by war. So we're currently fundraising for our first project, which is a community center for Kabala, Sierra Leone.
Well, we met in Vancouver Film School. We were both doing the acting program, and she saw the things I had to deal with from my past, growing up in war and being a child soldier, and that kind of inspired her to want to do something about it. Well, I was born in Sierra Leone. It's a British colony. We get independence from Britain in 1961. After independence, Sierra Leone was governed by corrupt government that mismanaged the country resources. The economy was in total shackle, and civil servants weren't getting paid, teachers weren't getting paid. When the war started, there were so many youths in the country that weren't employed. Parents weren't able to send their kids to school. So my mom sent me to go live with my uncle in Tongafield, which is on the other end of the country, because I was born in the north, Kabala. And Tonga was the rich diamond mining town, one of the richest diamond mining towns in Sierra Leone. So I was going to school living with my uncle. Tongafield was attacked by the RUF in the mid-90s. When they attacked the town, I was kidnapped with a bunch of kids, and then they took us out. And we got trained with them, and I stayed with them for 3 months. But I didn't want to stay with them because the RUF was pretty horrible. They were committing real atrocities and killing a lot of civilians, hacking off of limbs. If you've seen Blood Diamond, the movie, that happened. And so I escaped from the RUF and joined the military because I didn't have somewhere to go. So I did that back and forth. When the war ended, I started doing music in Sierra Leone. And after I released my first album, I moved to Canada. If you're a civilian, you're hungry, you're poor, and then you see another kid in a 4x4 SUV with a bunch of soldiers. He has a gun in his pocket, they're listening to Tupac, hip-hop music, and you're hungry, you're standing there. It's kind of attractive too in a way, because you're my mom can't even feed me, or I'm hungry, I'm standing here and look at all these other kids. It looks like they're having a good time, because that's what it looks like. But UN usually rescue kids from the war, and sometimes they rehabilitate them, and sometimes they put them in jail, and sometimes they release them back to the community. So for our foundation, we want to create rehabilitation centers that any one of these kids that are captured by UN, they don't send them back to the community just like that, because most of them, we want to go back to the militia that kidnapped or got them in the war in the first place.
If the child doesn't have a way to support themselves, or their family members have been killed in the war, if they don't have any skills or any kind of a job prospect, then either they starve, or they don't have a place to go, or they go back and join the army. So we want to provide education, get the kids back into school, skills training programs, art therapy programs, and sports programs, and just have places for the kids to go so that they don't have to resort to going back to the army.
Well, the war is over in Sierra Leone. Our first project right now is to build community centers to help people deal with the traumas of war. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of countries in the world that are going through wars that have a lot of child soldiers, in South Sudan, CAR, Yemen. It's a lot of countries like that. It's happening, it's real. There are kids out there who should be in school that are going through this stuff right now. So people need to be aware. The first thing we need to do is be aware of it and know that this issue is happening, and we need to do something to stop it.
What we want to do is help with rehabilitation of child soldiers, but the best thing in the world that could possibly happen is to eradicate the use of child soldiers. It is one of the goals of the United Nations right now. But what we wanted to do with our foundation is help to aid in the lack of rehabilitation centers for child soldiers. and just help provide the long-term care that's necessary after war. Because a lot of children who have been through these things, and even just regular civilians and adults, have a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder that they deal with. And there's just a lot of help that's needed in communities after the war is over that lasts like a long time.
Yeah, and like when after the war, because I didn't know like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, I couldn't associate it with my experience, because I thought PTSD is just mostly North American soldiers who went to war in Afghanistan, like Americans who went to war in Iraq. But I thought, because I was raised up in war and it was normal, I thought I didn't have PTSD, right? Like I couldn't associate it with myself until I moved out here. In war, you have the calm before the storm. When it's quiet, that's when you get worried the most, because something is about to happen. So when I was in Alberta, I started having this unbelievable, like I wake up in the morning, I feel like all my stomach was all crunchy and stuff, but I didn't understand it. I couldn't associate it, like I couldn't get a grip on it until I went to Vancouver Film School. In the acting department, when they started poking at my past, that's when I started associating all the nightmares, all the over anxiety, the lack of sleeplessness. And I know back then, if I had a kid, if I was a father, there was like possibility for me to be an abusive one, because I was suffering, right? So that's why the community center we want to build in Kabala is to help prevent people from passing on their traumas in war to their kids, and to make them understand that you grew up in war. It's not, everything is not okay, because that's how we treat it out there, like it's okay, but those things come out, and we want to teach people to be able to understand how these things come on, so we can prevent them from hurting the people they care about.
So we've currently been getting our volunteers organized. We're looking for more volunteers. We're bringing people on board to help out with all aspects. So we're looking at starting our major fundraising. We're getting all of our different fundraising programs going. We're doing our school outreach programs. We've been speaking at many different schools in the Lower Mainland, and we want to continue to do that, get into schools and do assemblies and speak to the kids, spread awareness, and get them involved in fundraising.
Well, I grew up in war, and I'm here, and I'm alive, and I'm moving on. Everything is possible, because for me that was impossible. I never saw myself after 16 years, or after like, there were moments in my life when I thought I'll probably live for 2 hours, and then I live for the 2 hours, and like, oh, maybe I got another hour, and then a day, and then a month, and then years, and I'm still here. Everything is possible. You just have to believe that it's possible, and you have to work at it.